Hello everybody, welcome back to another Shadowverse Worlds Beyond video, and today we are going to cover the cards that they just released for the Heirs of Omen, which is going to be the next set in Shadowverse Worlds Beyond. So if you guys didn't know, here's a little rundown of what they revealed recently. First off, the third set, Heirs of Omen, will release this update with 77 new cards, right? 2 exchange tickets, 2 sets of fully animated cards. So it's kind of like what they did with set 2, but we don't know what who are the animated cards yet. So for now, we just know who the exchange tickets are. It's gonna be Senkiro and Galmu. So another a female leader for Dragoncraft, and another husbando if you count the knight, right? For sword. And another thing that we'll have is the battle pass. We'll have another leader, of course, with the new battle pass. It's gonna be Keith, and the card art is going to be a spell for Portal, which is called Devastating Soprano. We don't know what the spell does yet, what the card does yet, but I'll update you guys the moment it's revealed. So don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And we'll get right into the cards, starting with Swordcraft. So before we get into Senkiro, the center of this entire archetype, let's first talk about the loot cards themselves. So if you guys don't know what loot cards are, they are 1-cost spells similar to Shadowverse 1 with several effects. It can be used for trading, for healing, for dealing damage, and they actually buff them a little bit. So how do you get them? Basically by playing loot card generators, which they will slowly release. Let me just familiarize you guys real quick on what they do. First off, we're gonna take a look at the Gilded Necklace. So the Gilded Necklace selects an allied follower in the field, and you get to give them 1 more health and ward. Right? I really like this. It's a good defensive option. In Shadowverse 1, it was actually only a +1/+1 and nothing else. It is really good for defensive purposes, and I think that this should be what it is actually, and you'll find out in a sec, because the next card that we'll be looking at is the Loot Blade. So Loot Blade, select an enemy follower in the field or the enemy leader and deal 1 damage to. So this is what I mean, right? The Gilded Blade used to be just for followers, but for Shadowverse Worlds Beyond, you can actually hit the face with it. So that's interesting and something to look out for, right? It's gonna be kind of tricky to calculate those lethals now, play around certain numbers now, because there's multiple options like this in the game for set 3. And another defensive option, right? Speaking of playing around lethal numbers, we also have the Loot Goblet, right? In Shadowverse 1, this used to be able to heal units as well for more efficient trading, yeah, for value trading. But this time around, it only heals your leader. I still like this. Most of the time, I heal my leader with this anyway, because Sword doesn't have healing. So if you just want healing in your deck, you don't even have to be completely a loot deck, I think, to get benefits of this, if this is the reason why you're taking the loot gen card. So yeah, I really like this one as well, because it allows me to play around lethal windows or lethal numbers, especially if you're aware of for example, Albert 12, right? Serbi, Serbi probably has 11 damage with a crypt, right? And so on and so forth. And the last one of the 4 will be the Loot Boot, which is Gilded Boots, yeah. Gilded Boots. Select an allied follower in the field and give it +1 and rush. So in Shadowverse 1, this was only rush. Now it gives 1 attack. So meaning, Albert can now deal 14 damage instead of 12 damage on turn 10, if you have this, right? And that's really interesting to me, because these loot cards are strong as is, because they're 1 mana, really high impact cards in most phases of the game, depending of course on your situation. You get to pick and choose, right? So after we talked about all those loot cards, let's talk about Senkiro, because this is the reason why familiarizing you guys with the loot cards are so important, because you actually fuse the cards into Synchro. 6 cost card, 5/6. Funfair, deal X to all enemies. X is the number of differently named cards fused to this card. So meaning you can't like dump all the goblets. Oh, I don't need healing. I'm just gonna dump all the goblets. No, like you have to like have one different like loot card for it to count to X. You can still fuse them, but like X will only count up to 4, at least with the current loot cards that we've been presented. And it will deal that damage to the entire board, right? Including the face, because it says here, deal X damage to all enemies. So it's a board wipe and like a big ping to the face. And what's so great about this is the super evolve effect is doing it again. So in Curie, you can do 8 damage with this card and then finish off with Albert. So yeah, 8 damage to the field, which basically is a board wipe for most cases, unless there's like a super evolved Serbi or something. And even then, like any like unit that's gonna be like left on the field is probably gonna be killed by the super evolved like Zero anyway. So yeah, like it's really insane. The stats are really good at super evolved too. I think it's an 8-9. Yeah, it's an 8-9. And you wipe their board, you ping their face for 8. It applies a lot of pressure. It does have like somewhat of a quest on it, but like if they release really good loot gen cards, which I'm going to reveal some in a bit, this might be one of the most busted cards in the game. Potential is there, but of course we can't say for sure. This could be a card that's really bad. This could be a card that's really good. Time will tell. All right. So loot cards. First off, on the loot gen cards, we have the Lair of Usurpation. So it's a 1 mana amulet with the engage like effect of destroy this card, select a mode. Like add like a gilded necklace and a gilded blade onto your hand, or add the gilded goblet and the gilded boots to your hand. Alright, so why is this an amulet, you ask? To be honest, I like it as an amulet. It's really good for ladder because you get to adjust based on what deck your opponent is playing. For example, you're playing Aggro Abyss, you play this on turn 1, you don't know it's Aggro Abyss, and then they play the bat, and then suddenly you pop like Gilded Goblet and Gilded Boots all of a sudden, right? Or like, yeah, like, or Gilded Necklace and Gilded Blade if you want to like ping like a 1-drop and like give ward to your vanilla 2/2, right? So the fact that it's a very flexible card that you can like adapt with based on your matchup. You can also use the cards that you print with this. It's 2 cards for 1 to prep for the quest for like Sin Zero. And the other loot gen that we had is Flashblade. Flashblade of Retribution is a 1 like a play point Goldcraft sword spell that you can also fuse like loot cards in. The effect is play 2 damage to a random enemy follower and then put a Gilded Blade in your hand. If you fuse a loot like a card to this, draw a card. So this is interesting because 2 damage random for 1 mana, it's quite big for the early game because it's a really strong tempo card. 1 mana, like deal like 1 damage, it can be a 2 mana, deal 3. And the best part about this, it could be a 1 mana that draws a card as well and deals 2 damage. That's a lot of value. And it also progresses your quest if that's like your goal. And it can also kill a 3/3, right? Because you can play the Flashblade of Retribution for 2 damage, and then you can use the same thing that it prints, the Gilded Blade, to finish off maybe a 3/3 that you can't deal with. For example, Barrel. So you don't need Valse now to kill those pesky 3 HP units in the early game. That might apply some pressure for you. You can like make things like even, or even like kill the tempo altogether. So yeah, overall good card. And that would be it for Swordcraft. Swordcraft, I think so far is winning really decently, but of course that, like I said, it could easily be like a bad like archetype, like if they, you know, if they decide to make the loot gens like worse. So far so good though. I really like the loot gen cards, but they are in a, so far they're in a form of amulets and spells. There are probably gonna be some followers, but if the followers aren't that many, that's a kind of a big hit to rally, which means it might nerf Gildari a little bit if you're gonna use it in this deck, right? But Gildari is good as is anyway, right? Good out of the box, like type of evil. You don't really need to like get the free super evil to get the benefit from it. So yeah. All right. Next up, we have Dragoncraft. All right, so Dragoncraft only got like one card so far, but the card that they got is insane though, and it is Galmu, Ardor Manifest. So it's a 5 mana, 5/5 legendary. Fanfare, gain crest, Galmu, Ardor Manifest. Enhance 7, give this follower Storm. So it could be like a 7 mana, 5/5 Storm. The crest though is something that you don't need to evolve for. It's just in the fanfare. That's really nice. Once on each of your turns, when this follower takes damage but isn't destroyed, deal 3 damage to a random enemy follower. And the crest says, once on each of your turns, when an allied follower takes damage but isn't destroyed, add a Fangs of Ardent Destruction to your hand. So what is like the Fangs? Like that this card is talking about. This is it. Deal 1 damage to all followers. And this is such a good synergy with what Dragon already has. So the crest already gives you a form of damage to the board, right? And it also synergizes with cards like Phylene, because Phylene can like do this thing where you destroy every single unit on the board, and it's already good as is, like 0 mana, deal 1 to like everything. That's kind of like a Apollo or something, right? You don't need to evolve it like for it to. So that's really nice. Like, it's not really like a card that needs a lot of setup. It's good as is, right? So I would probably think this card is, at least like in the context of what we have right now, is already a great card. Yeah, I would go as far to say that this would be a great card, must craft type of card. Galmu is gonna help out Dragon, and I'm really happy that they got a really good card, right? Something that helps fend off aggro, something that helps fend off whiteboards. And I hope Dragon will actually like get even more cards, because they kind of need it, you know. All right. That will be it for Dragon. Okay, speaking of a craft that needs help, looks like we're finally going to have a turn 4 play for Puppet, right? For Portal. I mean, Portal in general doesn't really have a turn 4 play yet. So there you go. We have Lishenna, Melody Manifest, right? And this is the only card that they revealed for Portal so far. But like, she has quite a bunch of stuff like that's connected to her. So she's a 4 mana, 2/4. So it's kind of like a 4 mana Alouette in terms of stats. Fanfare, add the Melodus Monody to your hand, and it can't be destroyed by abilities, right? Meaning you can't field out it, but you can banish it. So banish is going to be a bit more like important this set, I bet, because we're starting to have cards like Lishenna right here. So when you evolve her, it summons a White Psalm New Revelation. So what is a White Psalm? Basically the white egg. Yeah, that's what I call them. So its effect is cooldown 1, restore 1 defense to your leader as a last word effect, and when it gets destroyed, summon a Black Psalm New Revelation. This two will just probably gonna like ping pong each other. This is what the Black Psalm looks like. It's a black egg. Cooldown 1, deal 1 damage now to the leader, to the enemy leader, instead of healing you. And then when it's gone, it summons the white egg all over again. So when I look at these 2 cards, I'm like, okay, you probably use the Melodus Melody on 1, and then you swap the eggs again, and then try to swap it again and again and again to get heal, get some like chip heal and chip like damage in the face. I think it's an okay card, but I kind of need more context to what makes this good. What I mean is, kind of needs to have support cards to make this work. Because if you're gonna play Lishenna, I assume that there has to be somewhat of a game plan attached to it, right? Because as is, It's not bad as a turn 4 play, but it eats up board space. Why is that important? Round me up for Artifact, Orcus for Puppet. They kind of want the board space, right? Don't get me wrong, this artifact is really decent, right? But I don't think it's like something that's worth a board space if you're playing a really fast tempo. So unless they have something to enhance these effects, I'm thinking this amulet kind of mid. But 4 mana 4/6 that can be destroyed by effects, kind of a W. So that's the only thing that's like keeping me from like saying it's a bad card for now. But yeah, I'm excited to see what like they release for Portal in the future, because I really want to play these Lishenna cards because I want to play more Puppet, you know? I want to play more Puppet. And next off, we have Abyss, and yeah, there's a lot of Abyss cards that got released, so sit back and relax, boys. Alright, so let's first show one of the spiciest cards that they revealed for this set, and it is Shamnacha, Heir to Entwining. 2 mana 2/2 with a fanfare effect of reduce the fate of Shamnacha, Heir to Entwining by 10. To give it, increase the number of modes you can select by 1. So what is this? It's kind of confusing, right? So apparently they added this new thing called Fate. It is similar to Crest. It's gonna be like on the bottom left of your POV, and what it does is like it gives you like kind of like a quest, right? So the quest for like Shamnacha is your fate starts at 0, and if you manage to raise the fate to 10 whenever you select modes, you will be able to do both of the modes. Yeah, so for example, Gensetsu, right? Gensetsu can destroy 4 and heal you for 4, and also summon 4 foxes. If you manage to finish this quest of Shamnacha, you get to have both of the effects when you play that. And there's like a bunch of like cards that they'll release with mode. And whenever like the way you progress this quest is by simply playing cards with mode. They literally made modes like an entire archetype. So if you guys are wondering like what other examples are out there that are similar to this, it's like kind of like Norman too, you know, like when you fanfare and evolve Norman, there's like 3 things that you select. It's kind of like that. So it's gonna be composed, like the deck is probably gonna be composed with cards that have that. A lot of flexibility, a lot of options, right? And if you finish the quest, you just get everything. Why not both? As they say, you know, why not both? But the thing that I really liked about this card isn't the fact that it's a quest card and it gives like a lot of value for Abyss. The thing that interests me is the super evolve effect, because as you can see, you can select an enemy follower in the field, destroy it, and then add a copy of it on your hand. Oh, what does that mean? It means that you can have the cards of your opponent, basically. It's much better than Akim. Akim just steals something, right? On the board, copies the exact, right? From their board to your board. But this one, you get the entire card itself. For example, they play Wilbert, you super evolve, destroy the Wilbert, suddenly you have Wilbert. So any card that has an evolve effect and like fanfare that is really, really strong, like from the opponent, you can copy it. Hell, like if it's turn 10 and the enemy plays an Amalia, right? You can like super evolve this, destroy the Amalia, and then play your own Amalia to clear the board. Right? It's kind of funny the applications that you can do with this. So I would say this card is definitely a must craft, because not only it has a really good super evolve effect, right? It also has this quest that maximizes the value. The only downside of that though is, of course, if you want to maximize this card to its fullest potential, you have to make a deck that's composed like mostly of modes. And if you're not a fan of decks that are kind of tied to specific cards, then probably not your type, but I think it's cool. And then with that said, moving on, let's go take a look at one of the modes, like mode gens, quote unquote, I guess. The castle, the Entwining Castle. So it's a 2 play point silver Abysscraft amulet that gives you the option to either draw a card or give a random allied follower +1/+1, right? And if you engage this amulet, you get to do like you get to like replicate the effects, which is drawing or giving +1/+1, right? So it's a 3 mana, buff a unit, or draw card. You can like play this as a 3 mana, draw 2, right? Which Abyss needs a lot of draw, man. Abyss needs a lot of draw. You can do this thing where you use this to trade or use this for draw. So not only does this advance the quest, but it makes your early game less brickier and also like relieves pressure, assuming you have stuff on the board, right? Assuming you have stuff on the board. So yeah, I really like this card. I really like flexible cards. And one of the cards that also has this mechanic, the modes, is Affirmer of Entwining. I think, alright, I'm gonna make a bold take here. I mean, it's not too bold to be honest. It's quite obvious to like a lot of people. I think this card is the best card they've ever printed that's a bronze so far. At least for this set, right? It's a 3 play point, 1/1 bronze Abysscraft follower. And you're like, okay, well, big whoop, 3 mana 1/1, what does it do? It has a fanfare, select a mode. You can either deal 1 damage to all enemy followers or gain 2/2. And if you evolve it, you get to repeat the fanfare's ability. So why is that so insane? You can either make this a 3 mana 7/7, I repeat, a 3 mana 7/7, or a 3 mana Apollo. So it's kind of like Fighter, and Apollo had a baby. And the baby also progresses the quest of, like, you know, the card we just showed you earlier, Natcha, right? So it's both a quest and it's just a really good card. This card, even without the quest, on its own is, I think, kind of busted. Because it solves the issue of Abyss that, oh, I want to bring Apollo because I can't clear a wide board without Argavi. Yup, this card fixes it. You don't have to bring Apollo anymore. And, oh, this card, oh, like, I don't need to clear a wide board, but I need to apply more pressure. You can literally just make it a 3 mana 7/7 or 3 mana 5/5. The fact that it's 1 mana less for a fighter effect and the same cost as an Apollo, like one of the best tech cards that you can have for Abyss, is insane. And if you draw this late, oh, if you draw this late, it's kind of mid. Bro, like, if you finish the quest already, this is a 3 mana 3/3, deal 1 damage to all enemy followers. That with Argavi typically clears like a lot of like board states. Yeah, I think this is a broken ass card in my opinion. Really looking forward to playing it like in any deck, actually, in literally any deck. All right, let's move on to a 4-cost card that I literally have zero interest in. I'm not gonna lie, because it looks so blunt. It's called March of Atrocity. Yeah, it's definitely atrocious, that's for sure. It's a 4 play point bronze Abyss spell that deals 2 damage to 2 random enemy followers and the enemy leader. So it's kind of like a 4 mana 6 damage card, in the sense that it does 2 damage to, let's say, 2 tokens, and it deals 2 damage to the leader. I think this is just, yeah, I think this is just filler. I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I think this is just filler. Yeah. It doesn't like progress the mode thingy, and it's not really something that clears a really wide board. It's very specific to 2 units, and it's a 4 mana card. I guess it's like good when you're against Sword, because like typically like Sword, you want to kill stuff like Prim, right? Maybe you have like a 1/1 on board, and then it turns into the Nonja, and then you play this. Situations like that. It's very niche, but this is such a bad card for late game. The thing that's interesting to me though is it's another ping, which, you know, we already have a 2 mana 3 damage, and then they have this as a 4 mana 2 damage. I don't think it's gonna be relevant of a card. Like I said, I think it's just filler, but who knows? Maybe like there's a lot of situations where the two random 2 damage might be helpful, but I doubt it. I highly doubt it. You don't need this. And with that said, the last card that we'll be showing for Abyss will be Balneric and like Rulenye. So they decided to bundle this card into one card. You know, like Anin Greya, Gensetsu Yuzuki. Yeah, they kind of like have a habit of doing that nowadays. Not a big fan of it personally because I kind of want them to be separate cards. But I think the card effect is kind of strong though. So Rulenia and Valneric is a 7 mana 5/5, kind of like Galmio actually. With the Vanfair, select a mode to activate, like add a Scream Diffusion to your hand, or add a Wings of Desire to your hand. And the effect of Scream Diffusion is basically, it's a 0 mana spell that summons 2 copies of Rulenia and Valneric and give them Rush. So, if you choose this mode, you're basically playing a 7 mana 15/15 because it's 3 copies. It's not something that goes away after you've summoned. You can literally just bang 7 mana 15/15 on the board. So that's kind of strong. It doesn't have any evolve effect, but like it's a form of clear. It's kind of like the dogs, you know, the hound from Swordcraft, but instead of 4/2, it's like 5/5, which is gonna have a lot more angles for value trading than the dog, that's for sure. But the original copy doesn't have Rush though, so it's only the 2 copies that will have Rush. Do note that. And the other spell that they get is called Wings of Desire. You can select a copy of the Rulenia and Valneric on the field and give it Storm. This is also zero cost. So you can do this thing where it's a it's a 7 mana 5/5 Storm, right? Or it's a 7 mana 15/15 with Rush. Like at least the 2, the 10 stats are Rush. So whatever I think about this card is, it definitely maximizes its value when you get the Nacha quest, right? But on its own, it's quite insane. I would probably go for the Rush effect though, because it puts a lot of stats on the board, and mainly use this as the Storm one as a finisher, right? Just to note, you can't use this on any other card besides the Valneric card, so you know. Like the Medusa, Mammoth shenanigans is on hold once again. Yeah, this card is strong. I think. I do think that they still should have made it separate cards, but on its own, I think it's good enough, and it also progresses the quest. Right, so yeah, that's a lot of cards that progresses the quest. The only thing that doesn't progress the quest of Nacha is the 4-cost spell. So I would probably play all of these cards in the deck that I'll be making for Abyss except the 4-cost card. Damn, I really hate that card. Anyway, speaking of hatred, let's talk about Heavencraft. Alright, so let's first start with Marwyn, Despair Manifest. It's a 4 mana 4/4. Another 4 mana card. Have you noticed something? They're slowly giving the classes that don't have a 4 mana play a 4 mana play. And what does he do? It's quite strong actually. The fanfare is add a Torrent of Despair to your hand, and when you evolve him, you gain a crest. And the crest reads, at the end of your turn, if allied followers didn't attack this turn, deal X damage split between all enemies. Split, alright? Not deal to all enemies. Split. X is the number of crests you have. You can ping face with it if people don't put something on the board. And if they play weak turns, maybe a token or something, you can literally just not even trade into it and it'll clean itself for you. The spell that it prints is the Torrent of Despair, and its effect is banish a random enemy follower from the field. Random, right? The reason why this is important because it kind of counters cards like Lelantim, aura cards basically, right? If you have this card, you can save it for a very pesky aura card that you can't target to destroy, or you need an AoE destroy for it, but you only need to take care of one, don't want to use all your mana, right? And it also has another effect that delays the count of all your crests by 1. So what does that mean? It delays Lapis by 1. It delays the Maddening, right? If you guys remember, there's a 2 mana spell that gives you a crest. Can delay that as well. So right now I don't see much of a point for delaying the crest counters, because most of the crests that we have are permanent, like Grimnir quest, this one, right? And Yeah, the Lapis one, like, it's not really that helpful because you delay Lapis unless that's actually your intention to delay summoning her. But yeah, I think overall the card is good as is, even without the spell. But of course, the spell is like something that's gonna be super clutch. A banish on like a aura unit is super strong. A banish on any last word is also super strong. So yeah, banish is gonna be the name of the game, I guess. Because we also have another card that I'll reveal. I forgot, like, because they actually revealed one rune card. We'll talk about that in a bit. And moving on, we will now take a look at Himeka. Alright, so this is the last like Heavencraft card that I'll be showing to you guys today. Himeka, Heir of Repose, 6 mana, 0/4, legendary Heavencraft follower. Fanfare is gain a crest, right? Himeka, Heir of Repose, and then the super evolved is set all enemy followers to 4 attack. So you're like, yeah, that's weird. Alright, let's read our quest then. Crest countdown 4. At the end of your turn, if an allied Himeka is on the field, randomly choose X enemy followers with 4 attack or less. Give them can't attack followers or leaders, and at the end of your turn, banish this. X is the number of crests you have. So with that said, it kind of makes sense now. It kind of makes sense now why you want the crest to be delayed. So you can have more procs of this crest. So, what is this crest good at doing? It's not really like a board lock per se. It's more so like board limiting your opponent for their future turns. It's gonna be quite annoying. If you're sword, you'll be able to play Amalia. You won't be able to play wide boards. You're forced to nerf yourself in playing like with limited board space, right? Like especially if they have a lot of crests. This is a crest, like Wilbert's a crest, Grimnir's a crest, the Marvin's a crest, right? So if you have like four like units, right? And if you have 4 like crests, for example, that's like mostly the board already that you can give them the debuff. And the interesting part about this is not targeted, this is random. So meaning it could literally banish the entire Ether board. You know, like when Ether does a super evolve, everything gets aura except Ether. You can just banish that entire thing. So suddenly the aura is somewhat weaker because of this non-targeted banishes and non-targeted effects. So yeah, that's an interesting development in this set. So yeah, interesting cards from Heavencraft. I love to see more, but that's gonna be it for Heavencraft. Alright, so the one card that I was talking to you guys about is another banish card. And it's a little cutie called Velharia, Heir to Truth. You're like, okay, it's a 2 mana 1/1. Kinda sucks, yeah? The fanfare is draw a card. The evolve effect is select an enemy follower on the field and banish it. The super evolve effect, however, is banish all copies of the unit you targeted from the field. So what is this good for? You can banish an entire like Amalia board. You can banish an entire Gensetsu board. You can banish all the zombies for super evolving. Yeah, like there's a bunch of like super evolves that actually kind of matter, right? Especially the zombie one. The zombie one is quite big, right? And the evolve effect of it is basically a better Fildao. So you know Fildao, you evolve it, becomes a 4/4 because it's a 2/2 and then you destroy something. Velharia banishes it instead. So Velharia can counter Lishenna. Straight up. 1-to-1 counter. Can be destroyed, well, but you can banish it. So the thing that makes people skeptical about this card is, oh, where do you use this card? Right? Like Spell Boost wants like Spell Boost and Earthright wants Dirt. To be honest, I don't know. I'm just as clueless as you are. Right? On theory, if Fildao is a good card, this should be a good card. The problem is, this is in Rune. If this was in any other craft, I think it would be really, like, decently rated. So right now, probably a question mark, right? Maybe there's like a new Rune deck that they're gonna come up with instead of like Spell Boost and like just Spell Boost in Rune, like the Earth Ray. And with that said though, the final card that we'll be talking about is my favorite card of the set. I've been talking about this, I've been yapping about this for the past few weeks now, and it is Jerry. Alright? I don't know how to pronounce his name. Megera Bing? Hopefully it didn't like watch that. 4 mana 3/3, legendary follower. The fanfare effect is add a great testimony to your hand. When you evolve, you gain the crest, right? And the crest reads, when you gain this crest, replace your deck with the Jerry deck and transform the Reaper card at the bottom of your deck into a victory card. At the end of your turn, discard all the cards that are not named Great Testimony and draw 6 cards. Okay, let me just like put this into perspective. You never like run out of cards when you play this crest. Every time your turn ends, discard your hand is discarded, you draw another 6, and then boom, another 6, and boom, another 6. And then when you're like, oh wait, isn't that kind of scary? You might mill yourself. Nah, because like if you draw your entire deck, you win the game. But it's 76 cards. It includes every card in this set, meaning the cards like I showed you earlier, the 4 mana Iki Abyss card, you can also get that too. You can literally play every broken card that they might release in this set, right? Regardless of class of craft, and also run into the worst cards known to mankind. So it's kind of like a casino. I've been like talking to people about this, and some of the applications that they thought of was a tech card for forest, so they can have like a better chance of beating like Wardhaven, or like any deck that might have a quote-unquote unplayable matchup into, they could just play Jerry as a tech card and try to win that way. Like some people would argue that, oh, you're only making the unplayable matchup like mid or whatever, right? You still lose to a constructed deck. I kind of see why people would see this purely as a meme deck, and to be honest, like I kind of expected it, but I do like it. Yeah, it makes your deck into kind of like a roguelike deck. I actually want to try playing Dragoncraft with this, where you do this thing where you play like Cocytus with it, right? You make it a 0 cost with Fenny maybe, and then the combo card, the 6 mana card, right? The Dragon Strike. Then you can play both like Jerry and Cocytus in the same turn, and see what happens, man. Like, because since Jerry changes your dead card into a winning card, if you somehow manage to make it so Cocytus transforms the Jerry deck into the Cocytus deck, and then draw out the 10 cards with whatever method that you might be like coming up with, or they release, right? They come up with, you can just win the game. It's kind of like it has potential for that. And while this is not like a card that, oh, this is not a Shadowverse card, it's not like that fixed effect, like balance card game type of like vibe. It's more like a wacky vibe. I do think they should release this, because the first 2 sets has been very generic when it comes to archetypes. It's mostly mid-range. While it was fun, I do want a little spice in my game, you know what I'm saying? And this is definitely the spice that I'm talking about, right? If you guys are wondering, on day 1, I will intend to do the Jerry challenge. If you guys don't know what the Jerry challenge is, I would do this thing where I would try to win with the Jerry deck in rank. So yeah, I'm hella excited for it. And that would be it for today's video. Hope you guys enjoyed your watch. Sorry it was a bit long. There was a lot of cards to cover because I covered 2 days worth of cards. I will wait another 2 days to cover like the next set of cards, just so we can have like a decently long video. Yeah. And yeah, hope you guys have a nice day, and see you on the next one. Bye bye.